Hey YouTube, it's Mukau. Today's is a video response to the famous Davos question that's asked to foreign leaders. Basically the question is, how can we make the world a better place? Now every leader gives a political answer. They'll say, well, we have to make the world a better place by taking care of this or moving that, blah blah blah. But none of them speak about addressing the problems directly, taking care of the root cause of those problems. Underlying every single problem that we have today, in my opinion, is the failure of the nation state. What I mean by this is sovereign nations. No, I'm not calling for a world government, I'm not calling for unification, I'm not calling for anarchy in any way. What I'm saying is the concept of the nation state has been a redundant failure since the start. Because none of them work. They all have a certain process, reach a pinnacle, and then go straight down. As we can see, the United States right now, Great Britain a few years ago, in its recent history, Russia, Soviet Union, China, you name it, and that's modern history. We can go further back and it's the same problem. The main problem that I see is what is the role of government? And of course governments don't ever want to really address this because they're rich men telling a lot of people what to do. What is the role of government is one of the most important questions we must ask before we can address these problems. Understand that during an emergency, government is not going to come to your aid. Government is not going to help you. You can take Katrina, for example. How fast did government help there? Sumatra. Although government did help there, there's another problem that I would like to address also. And that is, no matter what we do to make the world a better place, which I will give some suggestions, we must also take into consideration the flow of money. Money is, in my opinion, a form of enslavement. It's another way to enslave people because you're enslaved to a class, enslaved to a routine. And while it is necessary in our current society, I don't see it being necessary in the long run. If you're going to form an organization, say to help in your community or to help internationally, you should be able to track the flow of money. Who gives what, where it goes, and finally where it finishes. There should be no mysterious spots. It should all be 100% transparency. The reason for this is because you're going to lose money somewhere along the way. Someone's going to pocket this or they're going to use it for personal expenses. And this happens all the time in politics. You take Katrina, for example, as I mentioned before. Millions of dollars went missing Katrina. We still don't know where they are. FEMA took them. We don't know where they are. They gave them to people. They abused it. So money didn't get to where it was supposed to go for the purpose it was supposed to go. Take the Sumatra quake, for example. Tidal wave killed 250,000 people, I believe, or roughly. Everybody started sending money to that country immediately, which was wonderful, and a lot of people got help. But maybe a week after the cameras left, the companies that were there were the companies of the rich people. So what they did was they took that money and started building roads, that's true, started building houses, that's true, for the rich people. They didn't build the wells or the dams, they didn't build the houses or the roads for the people that were truly affected. That very few money went to that. So we see this over and over again. So if you really want to help in your community, that's a good idea. But you must also be very careful and have transparency with the money. Also, it avoids legal problems in the future, and it avoids you becoming a scapegoat for someone else. Now, if you want my suggestion to be able to start solving the world's problems, number one, we're not going to do it in our lifetime. We have to prepare the road for perhaps our great-grandchildren to be able to solve these problems, and we have to start by recognizing what those problems are. We also have to, it has to start at the community level, at the family level. We have to get back to being a family. Stop being so distracted where the mother goes to work, the father goes to work, the children goes to school, all necessary, but then they don't come home and talk to each other at any point. So the family unit has to be number one. Community has to be second. You have to be able to help your neighbor. You have to be able to help everybody in your community to be able to move resources where you are at so you can become a self-sustaining, self-sufficient community. Then you bring it up to the level of city, then the level of government. And then that brings back to another point. What is the purpose of government? Regional governments, state governments, federal governments. We have to define those. Understand that the people at the top do not care. If they cared, we wouldn't really have so many problems. Among the nations that most traffic guns, traffic drugs, and incite wars are also the 5 nations on the UN Security Council. The United Nations is probably the most corrupt organization in the world right now. More death, more pain, more suffering has been caused at their hands, at the hands of the United States, at the hands of China, at the hands of Russia. The biggest countries with the most wealth are the ones that are doing the most damage. But it's not the people in the country, it's the governments in the country. So we have to start by analyzing the problem and trying to come up with local solutions and build those local solutions from the ground up. And we have to do it with transparency. Those are my ideas. Please feel free to comment, subscribe, and tell me what you think. Don't forget to rate. Thank you, and goodbye.